training, I'm expected to be very bold today as we look at this topic, governance. And as I said, more often than not, I will be presenting what has been my experiences in the church over the many years I've been as a member of Nairobi Yale meeting, close to 37 years. Thank you. My team, I think we can move to the next stage. The next slide, please. And in the next slide, I think we will also be discussing, not that one, just the previous one. We will be looking at governance today. And as I've said, basically when you are looking at governance, you are looking at rules and regulations. And there are more. So basically, that's what we are going to look at today. And in my preamble, I wanted to say this, that church leadership is a wonderful privilege and a great responsibility. So indeed, you have been given a privilege, and it is also a responsibility on your part, that the life, growth, and the well-being of our church are largely dependent on your leadership. So you are expected to guide the church effectively. And good leadership benefits our church in all respects, and more so, or it is constituents. You look at the board of the yearly meeting, you look at the monthly meeting, you look at the local church, and the various constituencies that form up the church. And then lastly, I felt that I should mention this, that the nomination committee is the source of either good or poor leadership in the church. So if you are experiencing problems in your meeting, I think for me the first point of reflection should be the nomination committee. Who did the nomination committee bring on board to lead the church? So for me, that one is very important, and therefore, at every time we are having nomination, it calls for a lot of grace from His Lordship, so that good leadership can be provided or given to the church or given unto us as a delegated responsibility to lead us. Thank you. Let's move to the next slide. And in the next slide, I'm basically looking at the theme of this year's conference, which is hope in transitions. And I tried to explain what is hope and what is transition. And I realized that hope is a feeling or a desire for a particular thing to happen. That is hope. And whereas transition is the process or the period of changing from one state or one condition to another condition. And with now the expectation and desire for something to happen, for changing from one state to another, I decided to redefine for my own purposes in this presentation that basically what we are looking at as we are hoping for, as we have hope in transitions, basically what we are looking at is change management. Not change in management, but change management. And even as I look at this topic, governance and change management, at this particular time, this theme speaks to my condition. Why? Is because my Pamba 5 is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. And therefore, I'm also in transition. I'm retiring. I'm approaching 60. I'm just there. So I'm retiring, so I'm in transition. So when I realized that this topic or this theme is speaking to my condition, that indeed encouraged me to come and speak to us. So my humble understanding or interpretation of the theme, Hope Transition, is change management. Our Christian culture and values in integrity and a good stewardship should influence our behavior all the time. Change management can be defined as the methods and or manners in which an individual or a corporate describes and implements change within both its internal and external processes. Therefore, developing a structured approach to change is critical to help ensure beneficial transition while at the same time mitigating disruption. Because there's no way you can have changes without disruption. Whenever you are looking at change management, and the reason I'll give why I'm looking at that will just come towards the end of this particular slide, is that always articulate the reason for the change. Why do you want to make changes? Or why is it necessary that you need to make changes? Who will implement the changes? How will it be implemented? Who are we buying in the process of change? And a few of the principles I looked at is that you have to lead with the culture. Of course, start at the top or as desired. And here when I'm talking about the top, don't just look at my brother, Steve Magwiru. Look at yourself as a clerk in the local church. At that particular level, you are at the top. When you are in the monthly meeting, at that particular level, you are at the top. So if changes are desired, either from yourself or from the membership, then you need to take care as you progress in the change. Steps of change in transition is you have to acknowledge and understand the need for change. And the first need in any change is acknowledging and understanding the need for change. Then number 2, communicate to the membership about the need for that particular change. Develop the relevant plans and evaluate the process as you progress. Then the key practices of successful leaders is you must have a clear vision. Now we are talking about governance. So indeed, you must have a clear vision. Having clearly defined and clearly articulated goals is essential for acquiring shareholders or members buy-in. Otherwise, people can refuse to say, no, we are not part of you. And therefore, we have always to demonstrate the reasons for the change all the time. And this calls for transformational leadership style, which is recommended for effective change. So in my summary, I'm saying that as leaders in Nairobi meeting, you have been delegated responsibilities at your various levels in the church structure. Are you coming in with a status quo attitude or one-person show, or are you going to cause meaningful change in the next 3 years? Because we have been in a period of transition. You have been given that responsibility. You are the clerk last season. You are still the clerk this season, like my brother Makwiru and team. Or you have come in as a new clerk or in leadership. You have not been in leadership. You have seen what has been happening. Are you coming in the way you found it, or are you going to cause any meaningful change in the church? And one of the areas that we have always had challenges is time management. When I look at this watch of mine, a friend of mine bought it for me, and when I check, it was manufactured in Europe. About 6-8 years ago, I had one from America. And There is no watch that tells me that this one is for Africa, this one is for Britain, this one is for America. So there's nothing like called African time. That's what I'm saying. So as we are coming in as new leaders in the next 3 years, in our governance, are we going to ensure that we keep time? That if a meeting is starting at 10 and it's supposed to end at 11, the meeting will start at 10 and end at 11. So that you encourage people, to come always punctual and willing to attend your meeting. Transparency and accountability. Oh, my friend is still very far. Oh yeah, no, we are together. Transparency and accountability. To some extent, in some of our meetings, it has been an issue. In some meetings, we don't even give a report to the members. Why? It's because I'm the clerk. I was given the responsibility. I'm the treasurer. I was given the responsibility so they know what I'm doing. And yet, previously, as we were looking at change management, we were saying that we need to demonstrate ourselves to the membership so that they can buy in any idea that is coming forward. So if we are not transparent and accountable to the little that has been given unto us as leaders, then it becomes a challenge. So as you come into the office, this time round, are you going to be accountable? And are you going to be transparent? More often than not, in our meetings, we rely on matters arising as the source of the agenda. True or false? So we come in for 3 hours, 2.5 hours, we are dealing with matters arising. It is simply because somebody did not do his job or did not do her job. Somebody did not call respective persons who are supposed to ensure that an action has been taken. Or when we are coming into the meeting is when now we are seeing it. Oh, John, I was supposed to handle this. Where are we, John? Nobody has bothered to find out where we are. Time in, time out, throughout the year, it is the same behavior. Dear friends, as we come into the office, are we going to be making any changes so that we are attractive both to the membership and even to ourselves? Budget preparations, and this is my area which I love quite a lot, has always been an issue. Yes, we have a budget, 20 million, and nobody knows what is in 20 million. We are supposed to make our remittances either to the monthly meeting, to the yearly meeting, or whichever office where we are supposed to make remittances, and we don't. So that's why I'm spending a little bit more time in this area, so that because it will be my topic or my area of concern as I progress forward, that we need to come in with a change attitude. If we don't have that change attitude in ourselves, there's nothing wrong in saying that I'm unable to perform in this area or in this leadership role that I've been given. There's nothing wrong. So that somebody else who is willing and ready to work can progress the church into the future. What are some of the major components that you'll always look at when you are looking at governance? One is the structure, which we shall at a later stage briefly have a look at it. And basically this one defines the reporting structure. I'm at the local meeting, the monthly meeting, up to the yearly meeting, it's very important that it should be well understood. Oversight responsibilities is very important. We'll be referring to it as we progress. As leaders, you have been bestowed specific roles to watch or oversee, but not talent and culture. Recognize natural aptitude or skills amongst members. Appreciate human, intellectual, and acceptable way of doing things in the church. Then, of course, infrastructure. I don't believe, or I don't think that as a leader or as a pastor, you will want to have a meeting where you don't have a church or a building. You have no place of worship, and you are running a meeting. Either you are hiring the place or something like that. You need computers, system applications. Like today, I'm finding myself challenged because we only have one screen here. I thought that by this time, Friends Center or FAFA has several of these screens everywhere that makes life much, much easier, even for the pastor when he is speaking to the congregation. You need to invest in some of these facilities so that we can be able to see the ministry grow. Some of the principles of governance that we will be looking at, or they will form part of our role of leaders, is that as leaders, you are expected to lay solid foundations for management and oversight. Structure the board and the committees to add value. Let me repeat. Structure the board and the committees to add value. They are those leaders that come through up to the board through nominations, and they are those ones that come through appointments, isn't it? When we are recommending leadership to the board, let them go there and add value to the board. But because John Mikisi has been a clerk for 6 years and he has to exit, now you have to recommend him to go to another office, whether he has a skill or not. It doesn't make sense. So as leadership, always, even at our local meeting level, those small committees that we may have, building committee, social committees, we should place their leaders that are going to add value to the church. We should promote ethical and responsible decision making. Safeguard integrity in financial reporting. Make timely and balanced disclosure. I've just talked about disclosure or reporting to the members. Respect the rights of people or members of the church. Recognize and manage risk. We do not operate in a closed society. We operate in an open society whereby what is happening outside there may affect us. And if what is happening outside there can be a risk to our existence, then we need to immediately find solutions for that risk. Like matters relating to taxation. The government has no specific time frame. Today, they can come and say Nairobi meeting was established in 1987, and say, since 1987, what is it that you have been doing? Can you give us a report? And they will want to go through each and find out if there are areas relating to matters relating to taxation that have not been handled. Encourage enhanced performance. And I remember when Nairobi yearly meeting was, I don't know whether I can say whether it was born, there were three wases. I think it was Kisia, then there was another mzee from Jebusi, I forget his name, and there was Barasa from Bungoma. They said very clearly that Nairobi yearly meeting, you are an urban meeting, and therefore don't operate the way we operate in the village. But as we took over, and that was says in 1987. Yeah, as we took over, yeah, we took over the status quo as it was. Of course, now we have had some meaningful changes in the church. Anytime you are looking at good governance, you must always remember that there are people, that you must be having a purpose, that you must be having a process, and you will always evaluate performance. People are important because they are the founders, like us. They make the board, stakeholders, they are the consumers, and even just impartial observers. They are the reason we exist. We don't exist because of buildings. We exist because of people. And then the next thing you have to look at is purpose. That every governance exists for a purpose and to achieve a purpose. What is our purpose as a church leaders? We all know our purpose. I want to believe. What is in our vision statement? What is in our mission statement? There must be a process that have been put in place. I remember recently when it became necessary that the centers should be managed by the Quaker Investment, QICL. This is an idea that was mooted many, many years ago, and it is being actualized now. But I realized that there has been hue and cry simply because most likely the process was not followed properly. Yet it's a good idea. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of the period, you have to analyze your performance. How have you done? How have you performed? Where did you go wrong? Are you celebrating or you are mourning? And if you are mourning, in which step or in which area did you miss out that you need to revisit so that you can all celebrate? Quickly, I look at some forms of church government. We have the papal form of government. This one vests all authority in the Pope as the supreme head of the church. It's very common with our dear friends, the Catholics. We have the Episcopal one, and here the chief authority over a local Christian church rests in a bishop. Then we have the Presbyterian form of government. The authority resides in a presbytery or a council of elders. Then we have the congregational form of church governance. The local church congregation is independent. So there are all these forms. But what happens in our case? In the French church, I want to believe it's all over the world. We are a hybrid of all the governances. I don't know. Could that be the reason why our growth is slow, zero, or even negative? Decision making in the French church. uh, it requires a lot of patience because the members of the church have authority as stakeholders. The administration rests in the office of the presiding clerk. The clergy handle spiritual matters of the church. And therefore, each one of us, depending on your area, you want to restrict yourself to where your line falls. You want to close yourself. Say, no, me, I'm the clerk. That matter is for the pastor. Is that our problem? Church governance, biblical perspective. When you read the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verses 46 to 49, you realize that Daniel was a recognized chief administrator in the whole province of Babylon. He served at the king's court. Daniel had profound qualities, which included, amongst others, 1, kept his true identity, possessed the spirit of excellence in his work, was a man of integrity, and appointed people of integrity to serve. Remember, he appointed, I think, Shadrach, Abednego, and others to serve in the provinces. These were fellows with These were people of integrity. He had great courage to manage threats from even higher offices. He valued justice, and he had risk management skills in him. Does this apply to us? Yes. Nehemiah 13:13 and Genesis 39 through 41. Great leaders should always aspire to remain faithful stewards in their respective areas of administration. Faithfulness as the golden rule. I believe you have been given a responsibility because you are found trustworthy. Just as Shelemiah, Zadok, Bedadiah, Hanan, and Joseph in these biblical references. They were found to be trustworthy. Are we trusted as governors in the church? Those ones that you are replacing, were they trustworthy? There are some meetings where you find that a clerk is in the office, does not make remittances as required. A new broom comes in, and you start wondering where money has come from. That's the change that we need to have. Acts 15 talks about dispute resolution. Remember when there was the issue of circumcision, the uncircumcised, and all that. Paul and I think Barnabas referred the matter to Jerusalem for guidance. Our church dispute resolution is not well defined. It is winding. It's an area that we need to deal with so that when there are disputes in the church, they can be handled effectively. When we read Hebrews 13:17, it talks about obedience and submission to authority. Friends, the work we do should be a joy and not a burden. If you are finding it a burden, then the best thing is that don't fall into sin. Just live. Somebody else will come in and fill that space. Then when we look at 2 Corinthians 8:19 to 21, integrity in financial management is encouraged. This is the time when Paul appointed Titus to oversee the collections and the reporting to the people. So everything we do has a basis from the Bible, and we cannot run away from it. From all this, what's our role in the church? For me, my understanding of our role in the church is just one, not two. Our role is to make the vision and the mission statements of the church known by promoting pastoral services, outreach, and evangelism. That's all that we are supposed to do. How are we supposed to do it? The first four, I intentionally put them there. One is we have to declare a conflict of interest, if any, so that we can promote integrity, transparency, and fairness, and no undue influence, because that can affect the vision of the church. Always avoid declaring unofficial information or communication. As leaders, let us avoid the grapevine talk. I was with Nathan, and this is what he said. And you know, by the time you are getting to the third person pastor, it is so different. Promote the spirit of listening and foster respect for each other. This improves working relationship. In France, there was a manufacturing company where we had, you call them unskilled labor, but because he had been in the job for over 30 years, like me, I've been in my job for 37 years, he had acquired some skills. So when Nathan came in as the manager, the manager that used to be there left. When Nathan came in as the manager, or when Susie came in as the manager, in the process of working, this unskilled man or labor had some funny noise. Gilly, some noise. So he immediately ran to the manager and told him, "Hey, boss, I've heard some funny sound, which is not common." So the manager comes around, walks, and the factory is running, and then he tells this guy that you need to go back to school. Don't waste my time. But, you know, the structure was that anything that you feel should be reported, there is a book, like the way we have our primary register for minutes. So he went and wrote in the book, this is what has happened. I've reported to the manager for action. Within 3 hours, the factory had come to a halt. If only that manager listened to this unskilled labor, he would have saved the factory. Millions or billions of money spent to bring back the factory to its status. They kept reporting losses over a period of time. Why? It's because the spirit of listening and the respect for each other was not there. Always allow second opinion or thought on board matters. What we have always said is that that decision was made at the board and it's final. And yet, when you look at our structure as the French Church, you find that some authority is vested in the pastors, some authority is vested in the leaders, and some authority is vested in the members. We are expected to be change agents in the church. We are expected to ensure that the church transforms itself by organization effectiveness, improvement, and development. So we are supposed to be change agents in that respect. Ensure that the ever-evolving needs of members are satisfactorily met. Ensure that the board and the committees of the church add value. Inject new thinking. Encourage talent and culture. And why not? We can borrow from the business community. I don't know, you sit in the board as an ex-officio or as a member of the board? As a member of the board. And you are the CEO of the board, of the church, isn't it? So you are the person who is supposed to ensure, plus your team of pastors, that what is decided in the board is escalated to lower levels and implemented. True? And yet, you are not allowed to take minutes in our church. You are supposed to be the secretary of the board. The pastor in charge of mission commission in the monthly meeting is supposed to be the secretary, so that, and even in the local meeting, the pastor is supposed to sit in that meeting and take the minutes, so that whenever there is an issue, matters arising, you have the time. You know me, I attend the meeting and I go to my office. But you have your office. So when you go to your office, you review the minutes and call John. There's this action you are supposed to have taken. Have you? Can you bring a report to my office in the next few days as agreed? You follow up. Where does the clerk get the time to follow up on such matters? So our structure needs to change. Friends, we need to change. We cannot remain with a structure that is not helping us to grow. In any way, the recording clerk is just supposed to take records. And the reading clerk is just to read. But let the CEO, or allow the CEO to be the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, for that matter. Appraisals. Constantly evaluate processes with a view of laying solid foundations for management and oversight. As leaders, promote ethical and responsible decision making, and here due diligence is required. As leaders, safeguard integrity in financial reporting. Transparency and accountability is called for. Make timely and balanced disclosure to the members, say quarterly. Recognize and manage risks, both internal and external. You know, whenever sometimes risks are coming, more often we will say we need to pray. I don't know whether praying without action, my treasurer, is sufficient. As we pray, we need to take action. Just as it happened to Daniel, to Joseph, many other people in the Bible that I've referred to. Promote external fundraising for capital projects. Constantly evaluate and encourage enhanced performance. Foster training geared towards performance. Strictly deal with the policy matters and leave implementation and the management to the CEO and the pastors. I can tell you where this is happening, they have moved very far. Because I don't know when this place was last painted. It's quite a while since I was here. And by the way, I was supposed to have a safety moment, I forgot. You know, I'm always safety averse. When I came and I saw all these cables all over, yeah? It's risky. I forgot to share a safety moment. Most likely I will remember to share one towards the end. My friend, can you give me the structure? Oh, it cannot fit. Most likely you make it smaller. Yeah. We all belong at the bottom where members are. That's where we all belong. Whether you are in commission or you are at the board, we all belong at that level. So we all have a clerk at that level. The biggest problem with this structure is that the decisions you make down there, just go down, my friend. The decisions you make at that local church and the decisions you make at the board are different. We do not know that at one point we will serve the local meeting, we will serve the monthly meeting, we will be at the board. And at the board you can be the clerk, or you can be in commissions, or you can be in committees. We have a very big challenge. I don't know how best we can structure this structure of ours so that it can add value for us as a church. Look at where the CEO is suspended. He's suspended somewhere and has no dotted line to end of this. Because when the CEO goes to his church, he's just one of the members of that church. But more often, they will always be recognized. We have the general superintendent with us. We have the chairman mission commission with us. Our Susie has come in. But we need to do something. And I don't know what we are going to do, but we'll do something. So when you are at the local church, when you make decisions, you should be well aware that you are in a structure that runs all the way up to the board. You should know that you have a monthly meeting that you report to. The monthly meeting should know that they have the board that they report to. We nominate persons to go to commissions, and they have no relationship whatsoever with the local churches, except if you are coming from that particular local church. Is when now you hear social commission, literature and publication. There are only two, one commission and either one committee or two committees that are failed on the ground. That's the Mission Commission, because they deal with the people. And then we have the Finance Committee. We hear of budgets every now and then. Then we have the Audit Committee. We hear the auditors will be coming. What happens to this structure where we have commissions that are not working? I don't know, for example, Service Commission, what they have done in the last 3 years. When my children attended a camp last year, I asked them, did you have somebody from the yearly meeting from Social Commission to come and talk to you on matters relationship? Or I think that's where they fall, Social Commission. Yeah, on matters relationship or something like that. Nothing. Did you have somebody from literature and publication just coming to encourage and develop you as you grow in the church? Nothing. By the way, under literature and publication, recently we launched a book, The Evolution of the Quaker Theology, by Pastor Evans Lukusa from Gong Road Monthly Meeting. And there was no presence of the literature and the publication. Where do you get talents? Then the other day, we were celebrating with the Pastor Simon Haemba, who got a PhD in church education. I didn't see the mission, the Commission for Education being represented. Where do you buy talents? Where do you get talents from the church? We need to do something. Either clerk, people are getting into offices and they don't know what they are supposed to do. I don't know, most likely you'll tell me later during the questions and the answers. Because I want you to help me finalize the document. Dear friends gathered here today, how can we reform so that then we can grow? I think time has come. We all have said we belong to the local church. We need to, according to me, to empower the local church to effectively undertake mission work, outreach, pastoral, and evangelism. And this is what some meetings are gladly doing. They should be guided effectively to form or be the catalyst of development and growth in the church. Membership registration should be one and not multiple. Let the Secretariat handle affiliations. We operate as if the Quaker men, the USFW, are independent from the mainstream of the church, where I have to register with Nairobi Yearly Meeting, and at the same time I have to register with USFW, I have to register with Quaker men, and I have to register with Quaker men, Friends Church in Kenya, Quaker men International, USFW International. Let the Secretariat handle affiliations, so that as Quaker men, as we meet, we are dealing with our matters locally, but we are not discussing. We need to be seen as Quaker men in Friends Church in Kenya. That's the work of the Secretariat Nairobi Yearly Meeting. They should agree that every year we shall pay 20,000, 100,000, or 300,000 shillings That's enough. Some time back, I can't remember, about 12 years ago or 10 years ago, there was an overhaul of our constitution. And according to me, time has come where monthly meetings should strictly provide administrative role. Conduct seminars and meet the education needs of leaders and pastors. Articulate the local church in growth and where to plant missions. Articulate the role of the board and the secretariat in administration. Provide feedback to the board on behalf of the local churches. Resolve disputes in the local churches. And the pastoral letters at the monthly meeting should come from Mission Commission. Commissions, I've talked about them. These commissions have been established in recognition of varied talents required to meet the set objectives of Nairobi meeting. They should have a passion for service. Explore and a source for human capital amongst the clergy in the church to serve in established commissions and committees. My proposal is that we need to limit the number of commissioners. Say to just 9. Why must we have a commissioner from every monthly meeting? And if you form 50 monthly meetings, if you form 100 monthly meetings, so you'll have 100 commissioners. For me, and from the private business community I am coming from, you need to limit the number of commissioners, just to say 9. That literature and the commission will just have 9 people. Social commission will just have 9. Why do you have a plotted number of 20, 30? Just because every monthly meeting must be represented? Why don't we go on QCC level? That Mombasa sit down and give us 2 professionals to these areas. They can share out that if you have given a mission commission or you have given social commission, as we will give in literature and publication, these ones will give in social commission at that quarterly coordinating committee level, where they meet as clerks of monthly meeting. So that you just have a reduced number where even control can be better. Yeah. I don't know whether we have charters now, rules and regulations for each commission. I know Mission Commission may be having, Finance Committee may be having, but we have a charter for Social Commission. Does my local church that is coming up in Isinya, as we speak today, we had a Harambe last Sunday to buy a plot in Isinya. Are they aware of what they are supposed to do? Yeah, on matters regarding purchase of property? Simply because we do not have rules and regulations in place, or we don't have a charter in place for each of these commissions. Friends, the people we appoint or nominate to serve in these commissions should be professionals in desired fields or people with a proven track record. Not just anyone. Not like me, I'm retiring. Okay, I still have the capacity, yes. But I'm retiring. And most of my time, I'll spend about 60% of my time in the village, 40% of my time in Nairobi for the next number of years or so. And then eventually I would relocate to the village. So I may not have active time to serve the church. or unless I've been talked to and I've committed myself to serve. We need your services. You are in Kitale, like where I come from. There were times we used to send out checks for signing. I don't know whether you had come to the office then. We used to put checks in, where is Geoffrey? Yes, we used to put checks in a shuttle to go for signing. My friends, I know it's not happening now, but let us have people who can be able to serve us. This idea of just being called a commissioner by name and have no relationship to the local church where we are coming from, have no value addition. You know, value addition to the church is to the local church. And if I have no value addition to that local church, why am I being called a commissioner? Just to come, sit, then when I get back, I even have no report. I don't know. Audit and finance committees. Internal and external audit functions are critical in providing effectiveness to the board of key controls that are relied upon to manage risk exposure. When some of us were leaving office clerk, we made very good proposals. I can see now we have receipts and payments which we can purchase from the office of my sister, Susie, for our use. But there is one stationery that we have not published. We were supposed to come up with a stationery that can help us in reporting our accounts on a monthly basis. This has not been done. So what I'm proposing is that the Office of Internal Audit, you know, internal audit is part of management. And the management is Nathan and Susie and the assistant. That is the secretariat. So the Office of Internal Audit should be established at the secretariat as a field staff. And if finances allow, engage part-time assistants at QCC level. This function will provide support needed and training of our treasurers. The current audit function of my brother Okango, where I am also a member, we should be a committee. It should be an audit committee to oversee what is now the current internal audit function. You want to tell me that we can manage? No. We are I don't want to say we are lay leaders, but we are leaders with other functions on our day-to-day. I have a heavy entry every now and then that I have to handle for my office. But if this function is in the office, when we come, we check whether this guy has traveled. And when he was in Nakuru, what did he establish? What bottlenecks did he go through? How can we assist? To support efforts being made towards Nairobi limiting consultation, accounts consultation, identify a few local churches with main transactions and produce a standard carbonated stationery for income and expenditure account. which will be updated monthly with copies to monthly meeting and NYM accounts office. You know, when you meet at the board, clerk, you should be asking my clerk, Oswara, that where are the reports of your 8 local churches? You meet on a quarterly basis. Where are the reports of your 8 local meetings? Because in the end, that's what will help you in the consolidation of accounts. What we are calling consolidated accounts clerk today, in my view, it could be between 30 and 40%. If you do not consolidate where the base is, that's the local church, then you don't have consolidated accounts. Encourage monthly meetings to engage part-time bookkeepers. You know, if, say, you have a bookkeeper who will be earning like 10,000 shillings every month, I don't think that my clerk, that is too much. Encourage monthly meetings to engage part-time bookkeepers who will support local churches in ensuring sound records are kept. Trustees and center management. All assets. You know, before what was happening, my friends, is that whenever we were buying a property, we would go to the office of the yearly meeting and we would be told that we will seek authority to buy or a plot. And therefore, what will happen is that we will be given a letter that Ngong Road monthly meeting is part of the constituent meeting of Nairobi yearly meeting. So what will happen is that you will carry that letter plus the letter from the yearly meeting, and then you go to the lands board and the land is transferred to Ngong Road monthly meeting. Why? It's because at that particular time we didn't have what they call certificate of incorporation or something like that, which was achieved recently, not many years ago. And again, the worry in our meetings was that the properties of East African Yearly Meeting of Friends used to be registered in the names of trustees. So if John Mix is a trustee, the property is registered in the name of John Mix, my brother Stephen, and my sister Oswara. There was, you know, it was like once you are a trustee, you are a permanent. That was the fear. Where do we have the fear today? None. It's because after every 2 years, we are changing our trustees. Not all of them, but they retire after every 2 years, and fresh ones are come in. All assets are legally supposed to be registered in the Friends Church, NYM trustees, and are kept in a safe at NYM headquarters, Ngong Road. I was talking to a friend who said that, but what about if we kept ours in the bank? Then I asked him or her, have you been reading newspapers? He said, yes. What is happening in the Central Province? We have so many assets or title deeds in the bank, and the families do not know that their parents left assets and they are in the bank. That's why it is important that we register and keep our assets at the headquarters. And will be given, I'm told now there's a document you can be given to show that your title deed is lying at the headquarters. Make the process clear for all center management centers moved to Quaker Investment Company. Address the fears, if any. But I was part of the formation of the Quaker Investment Company when we transited from Nairobi Investment Committee. We reached a point, and when we completed the construction of the building in Ngong Road, we said, we cannot manage. We need full-time staff who can be there and manage this on behalf of the Yale meeting. That's how Quaker Investment Company was born. The clergy. According to me, the GS, the pastors should take short courses in management and accountants and counseling. This will help governance in the church. Link the pastors, say, to a man counseling center may be desirable. Will help them sharpen their skills, and especially on matters of confidentiality. Identify and promote talent developers among the pastors. I was also asked to look at appraisals and how it impacts on governance. A performance appraisal is a regular review of an employee's job performance and the overall contribution to the organization. It evaluates an employee's skills, achievements, growth, or lack thereof. A review of set objectives and a planning is put in place. We will be able to give each other feedback, identify our strengths and weaknesses, and where we need to improve. Self-development will also is also important benefit for an employee. Identify training needs to succeed in the current position and the matters on which one would like to be able to count on the support and the guidance of the supervisor. Reflect together on career expectations as well as their feasibility regarding one's potential and areas for improvement. It provides a structured process for an employee to approach the supervisor or management for discussion, identify problems, clarify expectations, and a plan. Performance appraisal system also helps an organization in deciding about the promotions and the transfers and the rewards of staff. With performance appraisal, it is easy to identify the underperformers and decide whether to keep them, hoping for improvement, or sometimes have to let them go. I'm very sure, Susie, if you are not working very hard, you will have gone by now. Not have allowed you to survive that long. Both the supervisor and the employee keep performance appraisal records and can retrospectively review the changes in the performance in future. As a supervisor, look at where you stand as a manager coach, reviewing what you have already implemented and where you are in the training path. Good appraisals can assist in business continuity plan or strategies. Recently, now let me just finish. Recently, we had some changes in the office of the General Superintendent. And I was asking myself, as the General Superintendent was exiting, did he have a list of like 5 pastors or 6 pastors who can be considered for that position? If one is taken, then one is goes, or the assistant moves, and then this one moves. Without appraisals, how do you get that information? In order to achieve the vision and the mission statement of NYM, a robust self-appraisal system should be put in place for both staff and the pastors. And I'm saying vest the pastors' appraisals in the office of the General Superintendent. Do pastors have a role in resource mobilization? Yes. We cannot separate tithing in the church from resource mobilization. And this area, I believe, pastors, it has been done well. And because you have the pulpit all the time, the pastors on the ground where they have been given the responsibility to excel, we have had a lot of development. You all know. It's not a secret. What I'm kindly requesting is that include resource mobilization in the pastor's job descriptions. And according to me, pastors are supposed to be CEOs in their respective meetings. Therefore, they should follow up and ensure that budgets are remitted. How am I going to pay your salary and you don't know? Briefly, we look at John Mix. That's myself now, the change agent. I've been a change agent in the church. When I was the treasurer in the Ngong Road monthly meeting, there was no reporting structure. I put one in place. Some improvement is needed, but it is still useful. When I was the chairman of Finance and Stewardship Nairobi yearly meeting, I began external auditing. And with the assistance of a few friends, especially Churchill Kubizu then, before he became the clerk, he helped me establish Nairobi yearly meeting financial manual, which has been improved on over time. I established the activity-based budget and requested that we should have an accountant in the office. The treasurer has no role in keeping the accounts of the yearly meeting. And that happened. At the same time, I was the chairman of personnel committee in that same period, with the assistance of Pastor Mgune, and I can't remember, Pastor Penson Smiyu, and somebody else. We put in place the first ever salary structure for pastors and the staff, and how to progress to the next stage. When I was the vice chair of Nairobi yearly meeting investment committee, the idea of the investment committee was partially to delink the secretariat salaries from the monthly meetings. And I think partially we have succeeded in this when we put up that project. And of course, the path of the Quaker Investment Committee came from this meeting. When I was the treasurer and the finance chair of FWCC African section, restoration of donor funding was done by being accountable and transparent. Currently, I'm the auditor of Ngong Road monthly meeting, now in the second term. And one of my beneficiaries is here, my treasurer, who believed that she cannot balance books. But I believe that even Mama Mboka, when trained, can balance books. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2021. As you ask your questions in the next few minutes, I will also be requiring suggestions from you. And this session is for all of us. I may not have all the brains to deal with everything. So I can appoint any one of you to assist me, especially my friend Michael Mbesh is here.
Thank you very much, our brother John Mix, for your presentation. I know that all of us have benefited in that presentation, isn't it? And we want to thank God for you. Thank you very much. I want to take questions. If we have questions, just raise your hand so that I can see how many people have questions. We have 1, 2, Any other questions? There is one up there. 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are so many, eh? Can we take all of them? Oh, online also wako. Okay. Let's see how many are on online. Questions 1. So I think we can be able now to handle the questions. You can give them a mic.
Susie, we'll take the questions.
Thank you, John, for the great presentation today. From your presentation, I got the sense that it is important to have a secretariat either at every church level, where all documentations within the church and organization are made. And in most cases of most of the local churches and even monthly meeting, you might find they have a semblance of an office, but it is not even functional. And I don't know, what advice are you giving, where the monthly meeting might not necessarily, the importance of the secretariat and why it is important, both for the local churches and also the monthly meetings, to invest in the on the secretariat or office.
It's okay.
Thank you, Ndugu John Mikisi. That felt like a very tough strategy session. But my question is, we are having problems with the commissions. And following the advice that has come, we have always tried to put in professionals in specific areas. Maybe if it's constitution, you look for a lawyer. If it is whatever, you look for a professional in that area. But unfortunately, these people, either they're too busy or something. But how would it work if we just had one professional to head that commission, and you get dedicated people from the church to sit in those commissions? Because even at the monthly meeting level, to find the commissioners that you want is a problem.
That's all? Why don't you come down? Or you can speak from there.
There's another one here.
Thank you very much for a very bold and transformational talk. And I think, friends, we can agree that introspection, when we have somebody from among us speaking to us, then it makes a lot of meaning because of such experience. I have a few comments to make, not a question necessarily. And I'm in total agreement to the extent of the issue of nominations. And critically, what, for example, we look at, some of what you have raised indeed actually may require another constitutional review, because when you look, for example, at the roles of and responsibilities of the leadership in the church, you find that the nomination process does not necessarily end up giving the church the people who are well prepared to really fulfill those roles and purposes. Similarly, the aspect of the CEO, very critical, very important. I wish the organization set up out there will borrow from the church. But in this situation, we may have to borrow from out there so that then there is some form of structure and way of doing things. Number 3 last is on the aspect of commissioners. I can only agree with you that indeed we spend a lot of resources funding back and forth travel of commissioners and similar others. And if we were to restrict this one to a limit to the QCC level, then I think your suggestions are really very valid. Together with the structure and the linkages, these are things that are apparently either not very visible in our church, and I think we really need to debate over this. Last but not least is the aspect of prayer and action vis-a-vis accountability and transparency in our church. Do we just pray? Do we go ahead and take action as contained in our constitution, which to some reasonable extent has not been followed to the letter? I like the NYAFP and the questions you put to your children. And indeed, if you look at the challenges that we face today, not just as a church, but also as a nation, that our youth are the most endangered species. And therefore, how are we positioning ourselves through NYAFP to make sure that then our youth are prepared to face the challenges that they are as we speak? And the last one there is the aspect of accountants, especially at the monthly meeting level. Because of that aspect of lack of proper identification of the right persons, people who have some knowledge in accounts to manage our accounts at that level, there is a lot of wastage. And I think if we are able to take cue from what you are saying, we may employ somebody, it will add more value, we'll spend little, but there will be proper accountability, and at the end of the day, the church will save a lot of money. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is honestly a very good session. I don't want to say that these few questions can really respond to this. This is something that we can carry forward, speak to it, so that then we can improve our church. No wonder the theme of this conference, Hope in Transition. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going online.
Yes,
Online.
my brother up there.
There's an online question. Let's pick the online one. Ben Simiu, kindly come on.
Yes. As you, because I don't have much time, now I have 10 minutes.
My name is Ben Simiu from Friends Church, Don Homer. Thanks for the good work. My question is very brief. Project. And when the same was constructed, we were meetings made contributions, and there was a promise that our budgets will come down. My meeting, for example, Donham, were given a budget of 1 million shillings, which we paid in full, but nothing has affected our budget, and the same has never gone down. In fact, it's been going up and up and up every other time. What went wrong? Thank you.
Just be brief, because I only have now about 11 minutes.
1 minute for me. John, thank you for your contribution and what you have tried to show us the roadmap. My question is one. You have highlighted an issue that due to the process of the filling of some posts, people have got doubt in change. Because one, I can read from the resolution of last year whereby how we get to a trustee. How would you expect somebody to buy a plot at a local village and you give somebody to be a trustee whom you don't know? But I'm glad you have highlighted, and there are some guidelines which you were given in policies of the resolution of last year. Two, I have got a concern on how we get to the marriage officers. Previously, I've been advantaged to go and sit those forums through the Quaker program. My concern is this. There was a track for you, somebody to be elevated to be a marriage officer, have served at least in 3 stations. But currently, you just get somebody on the street and here his name has been gazetted, he's a marriage officer. I think we should go back on the track and get, for example, for somebody to be given the responsibility to be married, you should be having a track record at least to serve in 3 stations, especially monthly meetings. So my question is, one, you have said that due to the lack of the process of how we pick people is where we have got the doubt. One, it is on the trustee, and 2, the marriage officers. Would you please shed light, because you have said something.
That, for example, the salaries committee can ensure that we have 3 months' salaries in advance for pastors, so that there is no struggle in paying salaries in time for our pastors. The operations budget or subcommittee can ensure that we have sufficient funds to pay utilities, to manage the office of the clerk, and make sure the office is functional. And then the development subcommittee to ensure that there is development coordinated by Nairobi Yearly Meeting. Maybe I'm the only one who has an impression that the Nairobi Yearly Meeting does not undertake any development, and yet the local churches are always crying of being overburdened with development activities, meaning that there is a gap, or rather there is lack of guidance on how to undertake development in our church structure. And I think if the finance committee can restructure itself, then we should be able to fix, for example, challenges of salaries to our pastors. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I will attempt to deal with some of these questions, and where I'm unable, you can raise your hand and support me. There was the issue of constitution review. Clark, you and myself, we were in Tikuna 1 and Tikuna 2. And we know what we did. What will be a problem in establishing a similar committee to look at the constitution as currently established. Last year or early this year, there was an attempt to make some adjustments or amendments in the constitution. Almost every monthly meeting put forward their recommendation, but we don't know what happened. I don't know what happened because I know I was in one small committee somewhere where some recommendations were put forward, but nobody has come back to us. That's why my clerk, I'm talking of it is time for us to change. Me, I'm looking at my children into the future in the church. Because as I said, I'm exiting. And as I'm exiting, have I left a solid ground for my children to remain in the church? Or as and when they get in their 20s and above, they start looking elsewhere. So I think that's for the office of the clerk or the office of or the board to see matters constitutional, whether we can have an equivalent of Tikuna 1 and Tikuna 2, where we go through with all those amendments that are desired. My friend Michael, what I said in my presentation is that if somebody does not have passion to serve, recall them. What are they doing? If somebody is in a commission somewhere and is in a committee somewhere and is not working, what stops you from recalling that person? You do a letter to the office of the clerk, yearly meeting, and you say, we are recalling our commissioner. Are they permanent? I thought you are the appointing authority in the monthly meeting. And therefore, if they are not bringing you feedback, give to people who have the passion to serve. And that should be the spirit. But also, at the board level, if these fellows are not working, my clerk, it's called RTS. Return to sender. Tell them in the board that you have come here, and that's why I'm saying we need change. You have come here to add value to the church. If you are not adding value, you can call me privately, my brother John, let's have a cup of tea together. Then I come, we have a cup of tea with you, and then you tell me, but my brother, this area, you are not doing well. If you are not able, can we give to somebody else? With a lot of love. As we are exiting them, but with a lot of love. So, my clerk, you have the reason to recall them and send there somebody who can work. And that's why I'm struggling to say that our commissioners is uploaded. We have such a very big number, 21 or 22? 23. Surely, what kind of decision can you make? It will be noise. You will be making decisions based on noise. But I know when you have, like the investment committee, we were how many? Susie, we were about 10. 7. We were only 7 people in the Nairobi meeting investment committee. And we came up with, I am told you are calling Nairobi meeting Plaza. I had it somewhere. So have a small number that is manageable and that can give or produce results. Local meeting, what I meant, clerk, pastor, is that if the general superintendent is the CEO and you are serving a local church, then you are the CEO in that local church. And when we were looking at the components of governance, there was something called infrastructure. One of your churches, at least every monthly meeting, they must be having one of the local churches has a church. Why don't you put up a room there and call it the monthly meeting secretariat or monthly meeting office where you can vest all your documents. What I would say is that if pastors have not been given a responsibility on the ground, can they be given a responsibility on the ground so that they serve in that capacity? You are a full-time. Me, I'm not full-time.
In a local church, you have that room, there is no file in it.
No, but Pastor, that's what now you are as the CEO, you need to ensure that you have files. Why do you want us to work for you? And as you sit, what do I need in this office? As you go to your committee, you say, for me to function, I need 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not for the conference. Sorry. I think another one was about budgets from my brother Benson Smith. But Benson, I hope you are hearing me. I want to believe that Benson Smith has a representative to the finance committee. Eh? So that representative of Donholm to the finance committee should file returns to where? To Donholm. There are times we put pressure on my sister, our treasurer. How was this budget developed? Can you go back and come and tell us, this item is costing so much. Sources of revenue, you are getting this from the building, and you are getting this from the monthly meeting. Where do you have a problem? Like, as far as I'm concerned, as we speak now, clerk, according to me, the secretariat should be independent from the monthly meeting in matters finance, because we struggled to raise money so that they can have supervisory role effectiveness to the monthly meetings. What you are collecting, what we gave you to collect, you are supposed to use it effectively. But now I don't want to get into the management issues. It's just a suggestion where when the finance committee is meeting, most likely we can have a committee that can look into these issues. Pastors, I don't know why the general superintendent will handle that issue at a later stage. Sorry? Okay, as a closing one, as I finish. Then my brother, Professor Oswara, that was a good suggestion. We should now ask our treasurer, as she goes to that committee, we can sit with you and put a document in place so that then as she goes to the committee, she goes with that document to see whether they can have it adopted. Yes. We can always have another session with monthly meetings so that all of us come together. It's unfortunate I'm missing my brother, my senior Nebat Abuswa. He's not in today. Yeah, but we can always have another session where we can all come together with the finance committee and go through some of these issues and see how to improve. Finally, the clerk can make comments on the issue of the pastors, which I found it too heavy for me. They need to sanitize it.
Yeah, friends, thank you for Dogo Mikisi. Nataka kushukuru sana. I think we have expatriates among us and we have not exploited. Sinikweli, can we give an appreciation to our presenter? These are some of the critical thinkers that we believe the Quaker Nairobi Year meeting has for the growth of this church. I want to agree with the presenter Indeed, the issue of constitutional amendment, Ndugu Mikisi, has been an agenda on our table for too long. And in fact, we have some minor constitutional amendments that we shall be presenting to this conference. But in my prayer, we would have presented the comprehensive constitutional amendment to this plenary, but unfortunately, the document has not been finalized and it has not gone through the processes for it, because it must get to the stakeholders' engagement. So I'm believing it is an ongoing concern, and I want to pray that the commissioners that are coming in, our conference that is coming, will come with some constitutional amendments for the purpose of improving. The document we are having has served us very well, but we need to do improvement. So I hope, Mbeshi, you are sending a committed commissioner. I'm talking about the monthly meeting clerks. Tuko pamoja? Jambo lingine that I want to comment is commissioning of marriage officers. Kindly move with me to page 16. Are you there? Page 16, are you there? The year 2019, we commissioned marriage officers in front of this church. And I want to confirm due diligence was taken. And among the pastors we commissioned is Pastor Mark Yabweza, Abraham Goya, Pastor Judith Atamba, Pastor Rasoha Chaka, Pastor Samuel Kevogo, Evans Lugusa, Pastor George Muyonga, and Pastor Evans Makadara. Are these from the street? Please. These are a very experienced pastors. They have served this church for more than 10 years. Some of them are almost retiring. And therefore, I want to confirm we use due diligence. And from the year 2019, our constitution has a challenge on the issue of marriage. And therefore, the registrar of society can no longer accept. And that's why we have a constitutional amendment to Article 7A and B, which is in your booklet. Are we together, brothers? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the clerk answering those questions. They were very hard questions, but we want to thank God for that clarification, so that when we leave this place, we are leaving very informed. Amen?
Amen.
Wacha tumpigie makofi our brother for that well presentation. Thank you very much. Before we go to another session, I'm informed that we are supposed to give our offering. And because of the social distancing should be followed keenly, I want to request us to give our offering. You have your envelopes, isn't it? Kila delegate akona envelope ya sadaka. Just put your offering. Then we will be walking as the praisers sing. You will kindly just bring your offering in front here. Drop it in the bag. And you keep social distance as you are coming. I think that will help us to be a bit faster.
Yes, Lord.
So we want to give our offering, and I will request Pastor Mugami, just come and pray for the offering. Then when we give, we can go to the next session. Kindly.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yes, Lord.
Let's pray. Our heavenly everlasting Father, thank you for this day. And thank you for the session that you've led us. And thank you for the offering that your servants are about to worship you through it. We thank you and bless you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
So I request the praisers to sing for us.
Hallelujah.
Nitaomba tuje tu one by one ukiweka sadaka yako as we continue. Now usitoke, as we finish we will be going to the last
Hallelujah.
session.
Nitaomba tusimame tukiimba pole katika jina la Yesu. Piga tu makofi yako pole pole katika jina la Yesu. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Bokola.
Yeah.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Pika makofi,
Hey.
makofi.
Jesus. Jesus.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema ya Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Neema Yesu, neema imeshuka.
Pika makofi.
Hallelujah.
Makofi. Bokola.
Yeah.
Tia.
Si.
Baba wetu wa mbinguni, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Mama wetu wa mbinguni, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Pika makofi. Baba wetu tunakuomba, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Baba wetu wa mbinguni, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Baba wetu tunakuomba, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Baba wetu wa mbinguni, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Cheza, haleluya. Baba wetu tunakuomba, mapenzi
Tusitoke nje
yako
tafadhali.
yatimizwe. Mapenzi yako yatimizwe. O Baba wetu wa mbinguni, mapenzi yako yatimizwe.
Mapenzi yako
yatimizwe. O Baba wetu twakuomba, mapenzi yako yatimizwe. Cheza.
Jesus.
Piga makofi.
Yeah.
Tusitoke nje tafadhali, tusitoke.
Yeah.
Amen.
Jesus.
Hallelujah. Hatujamaliza mkutano. Naona wengine wanatoka nje. Naomba tuketi kidogo. Asante. Thank you for the offering. Those who are online, if you want to give your offering, we have our pay bill number. Our pay bill number is 944900. 944900. If you want to give your offering online, then you can be able to give on that pay bill number, please. Kindly allow me now to bring the clerk. We have visitors in the house. Before we break for our lunch, I request the clerk to come and introduce the visitors that are in the house.
Bwana asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe. It is now 1:14 or 15. We are already into the lunch hour. We have agreed with our visitors. We allow us to go for lunch. Then at exactly 2 o'clock, we shall introduce them, then we go to the business. Is that okay?
Yes.
May the Lord bless us as we enjoy our lunch.
Amen.
Let's have a delegate from Kabete to pray for the meals. One delegate from Kabete.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Wako mbali?
Mm.